Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my April 2023 reading wrap-up. If you're not already aware, I do weekly entertainment wrap-ups of everything I read, watch, and listen to, but today we're just talking about the books. I'm going to start with my nerdy hardcore stats and charts and then get into what I read. Also, I put chapter markers in all of my videos, so if you need to skip over something or go back to something, all of that is down below. In April, I read 12 things for a total of 3,911 pages. That takes into account converting audiobook minutes to pages, so 1,994 of those pages were actually about 43 hours of audio. The age breakdown for these books was 9 adult books, 2 YA books, and 1 middle grade book. I read 8 novels, 1 graphic novel, 1 play, 1 anthology, and 1 novella. This month was mostly fantasy, followed by contemporary, romance, historical fiction, and mystery thriller. If you adjust by page count, not a lot changes. Over half of these books were from the library, but I also read from NetGalley, an independent bookstore, Kindle, and I got 1 for free. I read 6 audiobooks, 5 ebooks, and 1 paperback. The biggest chunk of my books were in the 300 to 399 page range, and all but a couple books were published in the last couple of years. Most of these books were written by women, and most of the protagonists were women. In terms of setting, most of these were set in the US and other worlds, followed by Germany, Czechia, and the Bahamas. In terms of diversity of subject matter, half were queer, some had to do with race, mental health, or were intersectional, and a small amount had no discernible diversity. In terms of star rating, this month I had 2 3-star reads, 4 3.5-star reads, 1 4-star read, 1 4.5-star read, and 4 5-star reads. Let's start with our lowest rated read and work our way up to the highest, shall we? My first 3-star read this month was Faust. This is the play that I read, and I actually listened to an audio adaptation of this, which is the only way I would have gotten through it, quite honestly. This is a weird play because it's split up into 2 different parts, and I have no idea what part 1 has to do with part 2. In part 1, we have this really over-convoluted situation where this guy has studied everything, he's gotten all the degrees he could get, and he makes a deal with the devil. This turns into him seducing a literal child and then accidentally killing her mother so that they can do the deed, and then her becoming pregnant, and then her committing infanticide, and her dying at some point. It was a really weird play, and then you got into the second part, which I don't know what the second part was trying to do. It was all about mythical creatures or something. I can't even remember. But this was a book that was on my 40 before 40 TBR, so, you know, I checked it off of that, so that's good. My other 3-star read was the only Terry Pratchett I managed to read this month for the Around the Disc in 800 read-along, which I am very, very, very behind on, but that was Sourcery. This is another Rincewind book. I don't really care about Rincewind as a character, so I don't even actually remember what happened in this book. I know I read it this month. I meticulously write down everything that I read and when I read it and all that type of stuff, but I honestly could not tell you what happened in this book. That's how little it really impacted me. On to my 3.5-star reads, the first one being Uncertain Kin. This is a short story anthology about women and girls who live in the Bahamas or who have recently moved to Canada from the Bahamas in the case of one of the short stories. I don't know if I knew this was a short story collection when I went into it, so when I got to the second and third sections, I was like, wait, are we not going back to that first one? Okay, that's fine. This had a lot to say about society and women and girls' roles in it, and then each story had its own little niche as to different things about that. So if you're looking to read a book set in the Bahamas, I definitely suggest this one. My next 3.5-star read was Defenestrate. This is a book that took place part in the United States and part in Czechia, which is where I actually bought this book. I was in Prague. I purchased this book because of the title and because of the defenestrations of Prague, and then I believe I read some of it while I was in Prague and the rest while I was in Budapest. This book centers a couple of twins. Our protagonist is the girl out of this boy-girl twin group, if you can call 2 people a group. And the theme of falling is heavy in this one. Firstly, their mother has always thought that they are going to fall, so has been overprotective about that. This also talks about famous falls throughout history that people have survived that they probably shouldn't have. And we have the situation where her twin brother has had a fall and she doesn't know if it was on purpose or not. If you've ever been to Prague, this one will be enjoyable for the little Prague bits because you'll be like, ah yes, I've been to that location that she's talking about now. And then of course her family history of her family having to flee Czechia when her great-great-great-grandfather pushed somebody out of a window, and how all of that wrapped up. All of that was super interesting. But overall, I don't think that this kind of book is the kind of book that I am predisposed to really, really enjoy, and therefore that's why why it's only got 3.5 stars. Next we have Tell Me How It Ends, and if you like tarot, this is definitely a book for you. Our main character is a tarot reader in her family's gambling house, and she's never actually left the gambling house before, and she's in her early 20s. She meets some mysterious strangers and ends up going on a little bit of an adventure, and it is a really fun adventure, and I ended up really enjoying the side characters in this one. It was actually kind of fun to watch this character kind of learn about the world around her and then have these little bits of character reveals here, there, and everywhere. I also believe this is the first in a series, and I'd be interested to see where the series goes from here. My final 3.5 star read was Even Though I Knew the End. This was a short 4-hour audiobook, and it had a noir feel to it, but it was also set in a world that had magic. Our main character uses magic to solve crimes. However, she doesn't really have time for the crime that she's just supposed to be doing photographs for. She's got a date to get to. But then we realize something in her past is completely tied up in what's going on in the present, and I am amazed at how much was able to be put into this book and how much story was jam-packed into just a 4-hour listening experience. This is sapphic and historical fiction with some magic, and I really enjoyed it. On to my 4-star read, that was Flamer. This is a graphic novel that I highly suggest everybody read. This took place at a scout summer camp, and our main character is being bullied for things that he doesn't even realize about himself yet, as well as just boys will be boys and all of that. This was drawn in such an interesting way because for the most part it was black and white, but then it also had these fire colors every once in a while on the page, and I just thought that was such an excellent detail. Our main character is just trying to figure out who he is, and all of this pressure just gets heaped on top of him, and I have such a place in my heart for young protagonists that have just so much to go through, and I definitely cried on the train from Budapest to Bucharest while reading this. My 4.5 star read this month was Hidden Pictures. This is another audiobook I picked up, and it was about this woman who is a recovering drug user, and she now has this job as a nanny in this house where the mother actually works with veterans who have drug dependencies, so she actually is trying to give our main character a second chance. However, the husband was very hesitant about having her as the nanny because of her history. At first, everything seems great. The kid is great, the parents are just fine, but then some weird things start happening, and she finds out that the guest house she's staying at in the backyard actually used to belong to this woman who disappeared many, many years ago, and everybody kind of thinks she probably died. This is backed up by the fact that the kid is now drawing these very, very detailed pictures that he should not be able to draw that feature a woman being buried. This one went to some really dark and interesting places, and I ended up really, really enjoying my time with it. On to my 5-star reads, the first one being Hazel's Theory of Evolution. This is a fantastic book about our main character named Hazel, who is going to a new school this year because the property lines were changed where she lives, and she ends up having to go to this new school with nobody she knows. She can't go to school with her best friend anymore, who is basically her only friend. And as the new school year starts, she also finds out that her second mom is now pregnant, which should be a joyous thing. However, her second mom has had 2 pregnancies previous to this that both ended in miscarriage, so she is super, super worried about this because she's already grieving these 2 siblings she never got to have, and she doesn't want that to happen again. However, her brother's like, you can only be sunshine and rainbows about this, you cannot do anything negative about this, and that is really, really weighing on her. Add to this that her best friend is now hanging out with this girl that used to torment her back at her old school, and a lot is going on for this character. Like I said, characters around this age that just have so much working against them that they have to work through just have such a place in my heart, and again, this one also made me cry. This one also has discussions about potential asexuality, which I very much appreciated. Next we have Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake. I absolutely love everything I've read by this author, so it's no surprise that this is on my 5-star list again. This is the second in the Bright Falls series, the first one being Delilah Green Doesn't Care, and this is following her half-sister Astrid, who is basically just trying to focus on her career. However, there's some things that are just in the balance that could really sway whether her career goes well or whether it's just going to all fall down around her. Our other perspective is Jordan. She's a carpenter and she grew up in Bright Falls. However, her grandmother's bed and breakfast where she grew up is going to be renovated by Astrid, and she doesn't think Astrid's plans for the bed and breakfast really fit what the bed and breakfast is all about, so they are definitely clashing heads. This is full of high stakes and feelings and emotions, and I just loved it, and I cannot wait for the 3rd book. That is very exciting. I'm very excited to see the perspective of that 3rd character. Penultimately, we have Just As You Are. This one has to do with a woman who is working at a queer, woman of color owned magazine that is going to be shutting down soon because the parent company is sick of it losing money. However, just at the last moment, they are bought by a couple of women and they're just trying to survive this situation. Something super unfortunate is our main character finds herself very, very attracted to one of the women who has bought the magazine. However, she cannot stand her. This is a fantastic queer hate-to-love romance that I just absolutely fell for. I really loved getting to know these characters. I really wanted to know what was going to happen, even though it's a romance, so we know what's going to happen, but I still wanted to see how it was going to unfold. Additionally, there were tons of side characters that I really appreciated, and side characters that I wanted to punch, which is a good variety to have in a book like this. The final book on this list today is So This Is Ever After. This takes place just as our questing party is meeting the goal of their quest, which is killing the evil guy. And now they have to figure out what happens after that quest. Our main character, Arik, has actually had a crush on his best friend for quite some time now, but now is not the best time to tell him because of certain circumstances that work out after killing the bad guy, which means that this whole book is basically just a does he like me, does he not like me, back and forth, and we as the audience know that they like each other, but it's just so much fun to watch these two idiots try to figure out on their own what is going on. It's just so lovely. I know that some people don't like it when there's current vernacular in their fantasy, however, I absolutely adore it, and I would happily read a dozen books with these characters because I find them so delightful. If you want to hear me talk more about these books or other books for that matter, the playlist for my weekly entertainment wrap-ups is always linked down below. If you've read any of these books or plan to read any of these books, let me know about it down in the comments below. Also, I just announced the 11th round of the Queer Lit Readathon, which is taking place all throughout June, so if you haven't seen that yet, I will also link that video. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!